My friend of 8 years randomly cut me off, led me to call for a wellness check after no contact for weeks. Me, 28M, and my buddy, 27M, would hang out all the time, basically at least once a week. I'd go over to his house or him to mine, and we'd hang out with other friends and play Magic the Gathering, video games, go on little road trips, watch videos, and vibe. I met him through my old pot dealer, and we became great friends to the point where he asked me to be the best man at his wedding, a few months before this whole situation. He and I both got into relationships around the same time 3 years ago, though nobody knew he was in a relationship until months after, and with one massive revelation with it as well. I bring my girlfriend along to hang out as she enjoys playing the same games as we do, and she likes being a part of my life and being with my friends. The way we found out about his new girlfriend is by seeing her as his screensaver on his phone. We're all like, "Who's that?" And he reluctantly tells us that it's his girlfriend and that they've been dating for a few months. Now keep in mind that nobody knew about her existence at all, which I think is fine personally. If he's not 100% that they're not serious enough to introduce to us, I think that's his choice to make. I was having a bonfire in a week or so and told him to bring her out and that we would love to meet her. He brings her over, and she seems like a nice enough person. Nothing crazy interesting with personality or looks, but she was probably just shy. I figured she seemed nice enough. I didn't notice at the time, but a friend pointed out the next day that they were both wearing engagement rings. So my first time meeting this girl of my friend I've known for 7, 8 years at this point, and they're already engaged? I had also never seen him in a relationship with anybody over the years, just a few dates and a FWB, so that definitely threw me off. But whatever, that's a bit strange to me, but maybe that's what he needed and wanted to pull the trigger, as he felt he's really found the girl of his dreams. Come to find out that she asked him to marry her in the middle of the night, because her mom wouldn't recognize them as a couple unless they were engaged. That definitely threw me off, but that was also his choice to make. Even though I found it strange, I didn't really say much about it. He assures us that they're not actually getting married, just that they're doing it so her mom doesn't give her issues, and that they wouldn't be engaged otherwise. So, a few months go by and they're having a Halloween-themed wedding that December. He asks me to be his best man and another friend of ours to be the groomsmen. I want to make sure he has the best wedding he can, so when I ask him what he wants us to wear, and he says, "Whatever is fine," I'm pretty blown away. Like my man, it's your big day, surely your girl would want us to look nice. So I find out what he's wearing so I and the groomsmen can match him appropriately. Turns out none of that mattered, as the bride was wearing a traffic cone-colored dress, while the maid of honor is wearing a sky blue dress, and the other girl is in a dark blue dress. You might think it's maybe a sports colors thing, but nope. They just out here looking like they're going to prom. On the day of the wedding, I and my girlfriend, who does wedding hair for her profession, go by their house for the first time since we helped them move in. My friend was always a pretty dang clean person, especially for a guy. Even showing up to his place unannounced back in the day, he always kept his living area pretty clean. Let me tell you how disgusting the house was, after a few months of them living together in this new place. Before getting to the front door, the overwhelming stink of cat piss was apparent. The apartment was absolutely rancid. It looked like something you'd see on TV with people wearing hazmat suits. Now I knew why he was always willing to drive up to my place and wanted to crash for the night on the couch. That was definitely concerning to me, as I think a clean living area is often correlated with people's mental health, and it's never been anywhere even close to this dirty. As it turns out, the bride's mom has stage 4 cancer, and the mom wanted to see her daughter get married, so as he put it, the wedding was just a show to make the mom happy. Fair enough, I respect that. I think it's a noble thing to do. If that's what he wants, then that's okay, I'll support him. Me and him leave to go get some small things needed for the wedding, while my girlfriend does her hair. Girl tells my girl that she's not really excited about the wedding, and that it's not a big deal to her. To my girlfriend, that really upset her, because she thinks weddings are magical moments. But I do think it's odd for anybody to feel that way about such a thing. So the wedding goes on. Let me tell you, when the priest said, "You may kiss the bride," you needed a slow-motion camera to see that kiss. It was the fastest little kiss peck I've ever seen in my life. I've been to a lot of weddings, and this one just had such a strange vibe to it. Even the other guests were openly talking about how weird the wedding was, and some even made jokes at the expense of them, which I thought was inappropriate, but it's their call. I can't really say anything to the bride's family, who was 90% of the wedding, so I just kept my mouth shut, but it was clear they thought it was a weird wedding. After the wedding, we find out that she wasn't taking his last name, which apparently his whole family thought she was, but that's her call. I just thought it would have been respectful of him to tell his family beforehand, as his mom was so sad after the wedding finding that out at the moment. It turns out they had a bunch of Mr. and Mrs., name here, stuff made for the event, to which I heard the bride had a massive freak out over it and destroyed all of it. They never even went on any kind of honeymoon. After that was the last time I'd see her, as she never again came out to anything with his friends. Here's the meat and potatoes for anybody who doesn't want to read the background context. A few months go by and everything is cool and chill. I notice that his stress level has been going up noticeably, and that he's been smoking a bit more when he's over. My girlfriend and I were going out of town in a month to go see her family up north, so I asked him if he'd be okay with watching my animals during that time. He used to do it basically every time I went out of town, and he seemed to enjoy it when he did. I always paid him basically whatever he would ask, because it was still cheaper than boarding. And I just appreciated having somebody I trusted doing it. He said that was cool, and to send him the dates. We did, and got everything figured out. A little over 2 weeks before we leave for our trip, I noticed that he isn't responding to any of my messages or calls at all. It would sometimes be a day or two before he could get back to me, especially during finals time. But we had never gone more than a few days without talking to each other for years. So when it became a few weeks, I started to get really worried. The day comes when we're leaving for up north, and still hadn't heard from him for weeks, and I'm getting really worried about him. Luckily, I had somebody else lined up to watch the animals just in case, so they were okay. I asked my girlfriend to reach out to his girl to make sure everything is okay with him. She sends her one of those kinds of messages that somebody just doesn't ignore if they care in the slightest. She was talking about how concerned I am, and that I'm not sleeping okay because I don't know if he was hurt or something. She leaves it on read. So the next day I call her with my girlfriend's phone, and it's almost immediately put to voicemail. So I call her with my phone, as I know she doesn't have my number, and she picks up immediately and hangs up almost as quickly as she finds out it was me. So she finally responds to the message my girlfriend sent. Now this is what sent me into an absolute panic attack. The first one I've had in about 10 years. My other buddy was now getting concerned and reached out to him and just got a quick answer of, "I'm in North Carolina dealing with family stuff right now." But the girl finally responded to my girlfriend's message, saying that he was home and that he will text us soon. So what, is he in North Carolina, or is he home right now? And why are we getting completely different answers? Over 8 years of being friends with this guy, and nothing even close to this has ever happened before, so I'm in a straight panic. I respond to the message saying that it needs to be a phone call, not a text, because anybody can text, and she insists that he can only text. How can he only text? At this point, I'm in a complete panic. I call again, leaving a voice message saying that if he doesn't call me soon, I'm going to call for a wellness check. Then after weeks of not hearing anything from him, I get a text saying, "Hey, you don't need to call the cops, everything is okay." Which simply sounded sketchy AF at this point, especially with me being crystal clear that I needed a call, not a text. I call, no answer. We once again get a message saying that he can't talk on the phone anymore, and my girlfriend and I, just shaking, were so freaked out at this point. If I was home, I would have just driven there myself, and our other buddies I asked couldn't at the time cause of work. So in my panic, I call the non-emergency hotline and have a wellness check sent to his place. About 45 minutes after I finally get a call from him, and he's pissed. At this point, I'm just happy to hear that he's alive, so I'm feeling a lot better from that. He's all pissy, saying that I've disrespected his wife, and that he didn't owe me anything with watching the animals, even though he said he would, and that wasn't what I was upset about. He started gaslighting me, saying that this is all my fault, and that this was completely out of line and immature. I told him that it wasn't okay for his girl to just ignore my girlfriend's concerned message like that, and that we didn't just get to this point of worry by ourselves. He has just been ignoring us for weeks now. He doesn't want to hear anything on our side and just keeps interrupting us, so it hangs up. After that, he basically cut me off and won't hang out with anybody if I'm going to be there. I've separated myself from a lot of the group public gatherings, because I felt like he needed the time and getting out of the house more than me. But I'm sick of feeling like I shouldn't go to these fun events because I miss them. But before I start going again ID like some other people's opinions on this, I feel like a bit of an ass, but at the same time, I didn't just get to that point of panic attack, worry all by myself for no reason. I never meant any harm or spite out of doing it. I was just worried sick for the friend I was the best man at the wedding to. I feel like something had happened during those weeks beforehand, to where he already didn't see me as a friend. I have no idea what I could have done then. Everything was cool. We never got into any arguments, fights, anything. So at this point, I think his wife just told him he wasn't allowed to be friends with me anymore. And sadly, I think he is the kind of person to go along with that kind of thing because he is pretty whipped due to him not having a lot of women experience. I can also see him not being able to talk to me about that because he doesn't like hurting others, and that led into all this. I just miss the friendship we had, and I fear that it's never going to be like it was again. But do I even need a friend who would do something like this and not be able to take any accountability? So am I the asshole?